about this class because we're talking about one of my favorite meals. And sorry, I'm just turning my onions down because I had to get a jump start on things before we could do this class so that it doesn't take us hours and hours and hours to walk you through the potatoes. But as we're getting started, we shared a couple recipes with you today for a holiday dinner. One is a prime rib of beef. Another is these really beautiful cheesy potatoes Ina Garten does with Gruyere and cream. And I'm actually going to make them a little bit healthier tonight because I wanted to try an experiment. And then the spinach from my new book, which is a much healthier yet totally delicious option for the holidays. And I think I might have already taught it to you, but we're going to talk about it again, okay? So they did not have prime rib when I went to get it at my butcher's. And it's probably a good thing, but that doesn't mean, hi, Loretta, how are you, my friend? That doesn't mean we're not going to talk about the technique, because I think that when people go to roast really large cuts of things for the holidays, it's super intimidating. Here's the best part. It is the simplest one to cook out of all of them, I think, prime rib, because you don't need to put a lot of anything on it. We're talking salt and pepper. And it's just about temperature, and it's about having the right thermometer to read the internal temperature of it to know it's done, okay? So we're going to be talking about that. And then, sorry, I'm turning off my ringer. And then also, we're going to just talk about the timing of meals again. So if any of you are cooking any of these live with me today, let me know, because I'm going to do the potatoes, which I've already kind of sped up. I'm going to cook a filet for you because I want to show you the results when I cook it to the right temperature and what rare looks like when you slice it. Okay, we're just going to have a little bit of a review on meat again, and we'll talk about the prime rib. And then if we have time, we'll talk about the spinach again. But again, it's just mostly about technique, and I want to show you the volume of spinach it takes to cook down and serve a smaller amount, okay? And then also, if you just have any other questions about cooking for the holidays, I'm happy to answer them. In a couple hours, if you're watching this live, I'm going to go on Instagram at 6 p.m. Pacific time, so 2 hours from now. Hi, Chrissy. Well, we know you're going to go for it today, Chrissy, so what else matters? But I'm going to go on live in a couple hours and share my favorite holiday gifts with people, including a new juicer and blender that I have a discount on for you guys if somebody's wanting a big holiday gift. I've got cutlery and cookware and all the things to show you, just some of my favorite holiday gifts, and then all price ranges. Of course, you guys know how I feel about this OXO peel slice grater thing. I think it's $40 now with 4 blades, and it has a spiralizer attachment too. I'm about to use this again here in class. So if anybody wants to join me at 6 p.m. and you're looking for a gift for somebody who likes to cook, or if you want to learn more about the wellness class I'm doing in January, or if you're thinking about joining me in Bali, hop on at 6 on Instagram, okay? And we'll be talking all things cookware, culinary, everything. Okay, so friends, I really wanted to show you these potatoes because, well, let me back up. I wanted to do a cheesy potato dish like party potatoes, which I've learned they can also be called funeral potatoes. I did all this research on them. But all of the potato recipes that were different than like mashed potatoes I'm used to were, they had cream of mushroom and cream of chicken soup. I have nothing against those ingredients. I mean, I'm so nostalgic for them. My grandma used to cook with them all the time, but I don't use them here. I think it's kind of not in line with what I'm usually talking about with you guys. So instead, I chose an Ina Garten recipe with a ton of Gruyere in it. So Gruyere is a type of Swiss. It's absolutely delicious and mild and yummy and cheesy. But she also calls for 2 or 2.5 cups of cream. And instead of cream, I'm going to use chicken stock. So I wanted to test this with you guys today and do kind of like a hybrid recipe and see how it turns out, because why not? We're here to cook and learn how to cook, right? So if any of you are looking to do a potato dish for the holidays that's not mashed potatoes, this is like an au gratin. But it is, au gratin means that you've baked it in like a milky bechamel sauce of some sort. So scalloped is when you scallop them like we're going to do, how you cut them and you add cheese on the top too. I probably have that backwards. But I wanted to show you the method for what we're doing for slicing the potatoes and other ingredients to add with them. And then we're going to see what it does to the cook time. And we're going to see how they taste when we do something that's better for us. And so I'm going to do two things. I'm going to turn up these onions, turn up the temperature because I'm caramelizing these to put in with our potatoes. And then this is the chicken stock I've got. I already made chicken stock today, so that's the other thing that inspired me. Since I was making homemade chicken stock, I was like, it's so delicious. This ends up being more like a potatoes lyonnaise. If you've ever heard of that, Lyonnise. They're potatoes that you scallop or slice thinly, and you toss them with chicken stock or veggie stock, parsley, onions. They're delicious. They don't have cheese. So this is kind of like a hybrid recipe, okay? I'm super excited to do it. So I'm going to just quietly listen to these sizzle as I slice my potatoes. And let me lower the camera so you can see what I'm doing here, okay? So I grated my Gruyere. This is about 2.5 cups. It's a half a pound of Gruyere. And I went to Trader Joe's this time for my children's wishes. And you know what? It's the same label I buy in other places. And it was probably a couple bucks less per pound. Okay, so now I'm using this great little slicer for my potatoes, but watch what I'm going to do when it gets too thin. I'm going to put the guard on. I could have done it the long way. Actually, lengthwise would have probably been smarter, and I'll show you why. But I'm just going to do, I think it calls for 3 pounds or 4 pounds of potatoes. 3 pounds. See those? They're super paper thin. If I wanted to do this in advance, you can also, yes, well, that's what else we're going to find out, KQ. I'm going to use less froth than cream because I'm not quite sure. So we're going to find out, and we're going to do real cooking. In other words, we're going to follow our instincts instead of just looking at what the paper tells us. So it's going to be fun. So I'm going to do all 5 of these potatoes. I believe that this is, actually, I want to do them crosswise because I like, now that I'm doing smaller ones, it'd be weird if I did them lengthwise, right? So we're going to just keep going with this. But you guys, this little slicer, for this reason alone, is worth it. Worth purchasing, I swear. Because the second my fingers start to get too close, I'm going to put the guard on it. And make sure it's really in there so that I'm safe, okay? If you're having to force it with any pressure, you need to be careful and stop and empty out what's underneath it. And so if I were doing these in advance, you could slice them and put them into water. These are going to turn color pretty darn quickly, but we're going to put other things in with them very quickly here. So I'm not going to worry about it too much, okay? 2 pounds, thank you. Then I'll probably do 4 potatoes. No, I'll just, let's see how much we can fit in a, I have the recipe right here, but you know me, once I get cooking, I'm not a huge fan of looking at the paper. I'd prefer to memorize the method and then just use my eyes and my senses to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to put this last one in water that I'm not going to use. And I'll do something fun with it later. Power up my onions. Stir, stir, stir. Ooh, yummy. Those are going to be delicious. Okay. Let's get that out of there. And let's do one more potato, okay? All right. This one's so tiny, but no, I'll still go this direction. This is actually very meditative. Oh, good, spot on, 2 pounds, 4 potatoes. It's such a strange thing because you know what? They sell such large russet potatoes in the store now, but I bought these in a little bag at Trader Joe's and they were like an appropriate size. It's kind of like chickens. I bought a chicken today, you guys, and the smallest one I could find was 5 pounds. Like chickens, when you raise them yourself and they're like little heritage birds, should be 2.5 to 3 pounds. They're just so big. Okay. So that just did a ton of work so quickly. And the other thing is now you know that they're the same thickness, which means they're going to cook more consistently. Let me just rinse this out and I'll be right back. My big 1 foot walk over to the sink. Okay. Really gonna try to clean as I go. You all know how I am about this. I'm terrible about it. Be the change I want to be in the world. Okay, so let's look. So now let's see how much she says to combine. 2 cups of the cream, 2 cups of Gruyere, salt, and pepper. All right, let me show you my face again while I do this. I'm gonna take 2 cups of the Gruyere, and I'm gonna add most of that in here. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna add the stock after some of this because I want that, the onions are gonna need to cool a little bit too. So, and how much salt does she call for? I love that Ina always tells us how much salt to add to recipes instead of letting people guess. Now, the thing that's different about this is I'm using stock, of course. Mine is homemade. I barely put any salt in it. So let's think about this. I'm using stock instead of cream. It's totally different, but I'm going to go lighter on the salt than I would expect because this cheese has plenty of salt in it. I just want to make sure I'm doing this. 2 cups of cream, Gruyere, salt, and pepper. Add the fennel and onion. She also does fennel in with this, which I've done before, and it's absolutely delicious. If you don't like fennel, no worries. You can just do all onion, okay? So let's do a little more salt. I think we're going to actually need, I'm going to just do this. Yep. And lots of pepper. I'm probably doing about a little more than a teaspoon of salt in here too. And now that I think about how much this is, I'm going to be glad I added this much because the stock is really, I am not doing the fennel. You probably just heard me say that. I'm just doing onions. I struck out on some of the ingredients, but that's the other thing I'm always trying to teach you guys about, right? Like you can still do things, whether you substitute something else you like or you leave something out and bulk up on something else. Now, you know how I don't love pepper. Guess what? In this, I'm going to love pepper. Pepper's going to be my only spice, really. So this is going to like even out here, you guys, once the stock comes into play. But I'm just trying to like kind of distribute things fairly evenly. And then, oh, it's going to be okay if it gets kind of gooey. In fact, we can even like put the onions on the top in the gratin and then kind of toss it together. So let me just stir them again. Holy cow. They smell amazing. And let me show you. So they're getting brown. They're not quite as brown as I would like. So I think in this case, I just need to be patient. Don't you? All right, so let's put some of the stock in. And let me get a measuring cup to do this properly. This is my gravy measuring one where it traps the stuff on the outside, but then when it goes through here, it keeps the fat at the top, right? So you pour out the juices and then the fat goes down at the end. Which I love. It's a very smart little situation. But I just want to see how much I have. Okay, so this is about this is 3 cups. I'm going to pour in about that's a cup. That's a generous cup, maybe a cup and a quarter. Let me toss this and let me stir my onions. We're multitasking. Charlie, are you awake, sweetie? Okay, I just want to make sure you don't fall asleep when you have to leave. Okay, let's just toss these around. So you guys, that was just like a generous cup. I am not going to put a ton more stock in here right now. We're going to assess the situation when it gets into the pan and see what we think, okay? In fact, I'm going to end up adding more cheese too, but all of that's good. Let's just let this sit for a second and we're going to focus on the onions. But the potatoes are going to absorb all this stock while they're in the oven. The other thing is I might cover it for a little while to let it steam and then take it off, take the foil off and let it crisp up on the top. And these are turning quickly. I'm excited to show you. They're like almost perfect. Pretty. Okay, hold on. Let me just give them like another minute or two, and I'll move the camera so I can see your lovely, so you can see my face. And does anybody else have questions about this menu so far? Or are you doing something for the holidays? Or just entertaining or doing anything special this month you want to share with us or ask questions about? I am happy to answer your questions, of course. Okay. I think I can see when the screen pops up with questions. In fact, I know I can if I come this way. I can. Okay, these are looking so good. Oh my gosh, you know what I could do too is I could put a couple in the bottom of the pan and then switch them up. They look amazing. They're just like at that perfect point where they're caramelizing. That one got person overboard. Okay, I think these are great. I don't think you can tell on the camera just how beautiful they are. You can't see the contrast quite as well. Let me see. They're pretty caramelized and pretty gorgeous, right? Let's just put them into this pan to let them cool off for a minute. And then we'll combine the ingredients. I'll show you how I'm cooling these. Kind of a fun little trick I'm going to show you. Okay, let's move this back here. Okay, look at this. This is the gratin pan I'm using. You can use a rectangular dish. You could use a big round dish. You can use whatever you'd like. I have a couple of things that are about this size. I have an oval copper one that I've had for 30 years. But I love this sturdy one for things like this. It's really heavy and you can take it directly to the table. We have not talked prime rib yet, Chrissy, so I'm going to talk you guys through that. I told them they didn't have prime rib at the store. And then, so I'm going to, and you're going to make prime rib too? Okay, great. Oh, good. We're going to talk prime rib here in a second too. So that's fantastic. I'm so glad you guys are making it. I bought a filet just because I wanted to take you guys through temperature and cooking meat again. So we're not going to cook a big prime rib, but we are going to cook a piece of beautiful meat. And we're going to talk about how to cook prime rib because I promise you, if I can do it, I always say that, you guys, it's just about reading the instructions and understanding how to take the temperature of the meat without messing with the oven temperature too much, okay? So these have cooled down just by spreading them out. They've cooled down really dramatically, which is nice. And then actually, the other thing is I think Ina calls for olive oil and butter for cooking, and I just did olive oil here. I did not get butter, I forgot, and then I was gonna go back to the store and I was like, no, here's another example, like in this recipe, if you love the taste of butter, terrific. But if you have olive oil or you wanna use a different fat, you certainly can substitute, okay? So let's just see, well, let's just have a little taste of these, shall we? They're so good, but they need more salt. Now, another thing that would be delicious is if you wanted to add thyme, some minced chives. It'd be a great place to add fresh herbs, okay? I think thyme would be probably my first choice. Rosemary, chopped rosemary would be a second. I'm gonna put these onions in with the potatoes and then I'll bring the bowl back. I could have just left them in here, but this is gonna be an easier way to combine all the ingredients, okay? Now it's like perfectly greased on the bottom with the oil. Okay. Here we go. So we have that liquid. It's going to look a little like mushy and sloppy, and that's why it's going to be important. Sometimes, you guys, your hands are the only way to do it. I keep washing my hands, but you want to just kind of like scatter everything. And then when I put it in the pan, I'm going to make sure that the onions are evenly scattered around. I'm going to put a little bit more of this Gruyere in too. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay. Yep, this is just going to have to be done kind of by hand because I'll show you how we want to make sure that the ingredients are evened out. Oh my gosh, you guys, I just accidentally pushed something on my screen and it brought the news up in front of the screen. It's kind of funny. Okay, so look, if you happen to add, the thing is with Ina's version, it's going to look like a ton of cream in here. She knows what she's doing, so trust her. But I'm just kind of leaving the liquid until the end, and I'm going to pour that over the top once I've arranged the potatoes with the onions and the Gruyere. I'm just trying to go for even, right? So when you see these clumps of onion, this isn't the kind of dish where you have to make sure that every single potato is laid out evenly, right? But all I'm looking to do is make sure that the onions are spread throughout really nicely. And that because these potatoes were sliced so thinly, you run the risk of there being like lots of potato without any onion anywhere because they kind of pile on top of each other. So I'm just wanting to make sure that in every bite, you're going to get some yummy onion. Oh my gosh. And if you want to make it more appealing by like fanning these or layering these potatoes, by all means, knock yourselves out. I'm not going to go to that much trouble. And let me just rinse my hands one last time, and then I'm going to put this other stock in, okay? I think too, when they tell you to thinly slice something, that's so subjective. And so I did mine, you know, just on the only thickness that they have on my slicer grater. But if you did them to 2 to 3 times the thickness, closer to like 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch, you're going to have different ratios on all of this stuff. I'm going to go for it. Just roll the dice. I'm a rebel, but you guys, that still is only a generous, that was like a 1 1/3 cup of stock. So this is where you learn too to trust yourself. Like you wouldn't want it soupy all the way up to the top, right? And if this happens to absorb all of this liquid and start looking dry, you can add more. Okay. Rinse, Amanda, do your dishes. I'm doing it, folks. I'm cleaning up my own mess on the spot. Okay, coming right back. And now, for my next trick, I'm going to put a little bit more salt and pepper on this because I know how unsalty my stock was. I mean, I probably put in a teaspoon to like probably 8 quarts of stock. That's clearly not enough. And so we're going to just we're going to be generous with it, right? Okay. And then my pepper. Here it is. This is just going to make sure that everything is delightful. Okay, cheese on top. Combine remaining, oh, and it said to combine the cream and a 1/2 cup Gruyere. I'm not even going to combine this with any more liquid because there's so much liquid on the top here. And I want the Gruyere to stay in place. Oh, wait. Yeah, sorry, I missed it. I saw bake for 1.5 hours. I was like, oh, holy cow, did I put the cheese on too soon? But no, there could never be enough. Jeez. Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle this around. I'm actually going to press it down a little bit so that it's even, you guys, and that'll ensure this cooks evenly. And then for my next magic trick, watch what I'm going to do. I know you guys can't see that very well. I'm going to get some foil and I'm going to make sure that the foil is not touching the cheese, because if that happens, then all the yummy cheese sticks to the foil, right? You could do that. You could certainly do that, KQ. You could add plain yogurt, Greek yogurt. It'll just give it more of a tangy flavor, like sour cream. Okay, I can tell that the foil is not on the cheese, but it's enough to cover it. I want to speed up the baking by steaming it, and then I'll take the foil off for sure because I want to make sure that it gets all golden and bubbly, okay? So let's do it for like 30 minutes like this. We're going to just mess around. Wait, I want it to. Nope, I want it. Okay, little potatoes, have a good time in there. Did I turn off the cooktop, you guys? Always my big one that I tend to forget about. Let me just wipe down my space too. So yeah, if you want to do alternatives to cream, you certainly can. You can try stock this way. I love Gruyere, so I'm not gonna change that. But I think that if you're looking to do something that's a little less rich, especially if you're doing prime rib, I kind of like the idea of doing these potatoes that are just a little bit lighter because the prime rib is so darn rich and fatty in a good way. But you know, pretty darn rich. Okay. I've still got my extra stock if we need it. Okay. And then, hello again. So I've still got my extra stock if we need it. And I believe, what time is it? 4:27. So I'm going to give those 30 minutes and take them out just to show you kind of like, I'm going to poke them with a fork and see how they are and see how they're cooking along and then determine if I should take the foil off yet or let them keep cooking with the foil on and then just finish them off at the end to brown and bubble the cheese, okay? All right, so those are a version of a cheesy potato that is not like a mashed potato. Like I said, the idea that I wanted to do party potatoes, what I found were funeral potatoes, also known as party potatoes. And every recipe I looked for had like cream cheese, sour cream, cream of mushroom soup. And I just think that for this meal for the holidays, that's just too much at once, right? It's just a lot going on. So in terms of richness, and I'm looking to balance those things. And it's why I popped the recipe in for the spinach with garlicky breadcrumbs as well, because I love creamed spinach. I have a creamed spinach recipe on my website, but I think with prime rib, you have to balance it out a little bit, or people are literally going to be in a food coma and just feel sick the next day. Like I can't eat all of that heavy food at once anymore. Maybe when I was like 18, but now I don't feel well. And so I do try to be thoughtful about that. If you're going to do like a huge charcuterie plate before dinner, you don't want to serve something super heavy like this, right? So I'm constantly thinking about like how are these things going to balance each other? And so if I were going to do it like a charcuterie tray before this, I would probably lean into like the vegetables, some crackers, but like a lighter dip, or like the romesco I make, or hummus or something like that that's a little bit lighter, that's not full of dairy and cheese. Okay. All right, let's talk about prime rib. It sounds like we have 2 people doing prime rib here. 1, 2, I see already. Chrissy and Fenna. Okay, so first of all, Fenna, you had a question about you've done it directly in the roasting pan, but what are your thoughts on using a rack? Here are my thoughts on using a rack. It's great if you want to be able to take any of the fat and the juices from the bottom of the pan. No, let me start over. It's great if you want to make like a sauce out of the fat and juices or just the juices from the prime rib. But what you're going to find is that prime rib usually just has a lot of fat that drips off of it. So if you want to make a sauce with anything, you're going to have to add a little bit of beef stock or even chicken stock to the bottom of the pan to kind of help those flavors that caramelize on the bottom come up, and then you'll have something to work with. And you can put it through a fat separator like this one, and then the fat will come to the top, and then you just pour out the juices and you can make a sauce or just like a jus from there, right? So a rack is nice if a couple things. You want it to be perfectly browned everywhere because the bottom part of it won't be browned where it's been on the bottom of the pan. The thing with prime rib though is typically you can kind of stand it up or you can put it on its side where a lot of it's not touching the bottom of the pan. So if I'm going to use a rack for prime rib, I usually use a flat rack versus a V rack, right? The V rack, like you'd use for a turkey or a chicken, puts it way up and you've got all that air circulating under the bottom, but it's not going to drop as much fat or juice as a turkey would. So when it's that high, sometimes what happens is the fat drips onto the bottom of the pan and it just kind of burns it. So if you're going to use a V rack, I would definitely put some stock in the bottom of the pan, especially because you're going to start at a really high heat. And so that fat is going to drop into the pan at 500 degrees and it's going to sizzle and it's just going to burn and it's not going to do anything for you. Okay. So play it safe. You also don't want to use enough stock where you're having to continue to add it and open and close the door so much, right? Or have it steam a lot. So I think the best call, if you're just wanting to brown it evenly, is just put it on a rack that's like this high off of it, right? It's like a cookie rack. So if you can find one that's like an actual cooling rack for cookies and things like that and put that in your baking pan, that would be a great solution for this, okay? Well, I'm going to read this recipe through with you all though, and this actually is Ina's method for preparing prime rib. I did not do her Dijon horseradish cream because I do my own sauces to do with this, and we're going to talk about those as well. So she says, place the roast in a pan large enough to hold it comfortably, bone side down, and spread the top thickly with salt and pepper, okay? And then, so she starts at 500 degrees too. She also says a couple things that are super important when you're cooking meat in general. And I know I sound like a broken record if you've taken all these classes, but your meat is going to cook more evenly if it comes to room temperature before you cook it. And why is that? Because if you take it out of the refrigerator and it's really cold, what's going to happen is this outside part is going to get seared and have the heat really quickly and get crusty, and it's going to take a long time to warm it up in the middle. What happens when you keep warming it up is it's just going to keep cooking through and through and through, right? And then you're going to have a steak that is either like, if you try to pull it off so that it's medium rare in the middle or rare, what you're going to have is a very rare steak in the inside and a very well done steak on the outside. So by allowing all of it to come to room temperature first, what you get is a more evenly cooked steak. And if you sear this properly and then you take it off and you let it rest, you should still be able to achieve medium rare in the middle. Now, if you are cooking a standing rib roast, which she calls for a 3 rib, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. Sorry. I'm going to sneeze again. The sneezer. Is that it from me? You guys, I haven't wanted to confess, but I had a really bad ear infection on top of some other stuff, and they found it. It was bad. It was a bacteria. They thought it was all gone, and it came back yesterday, and so I'm in so much pain too. So I go to sneeze, and it's like, whoo! So I'm, yeah, wow, sorry about that. Okay, sneezing, not so good. Okay, so Ina also starts this at 500 degrees, and she's calling for a 3 rib standing roast, 7 to 8 pounds. And they say a pound per person when you're cooking prime rib with the bone in, because the bone takes up so much of it, right? So other people who are crazy big eaters will say, oh, 1 bone per person. When you cut that and you cut around the bone, it's like this thick of a piece, right? So that's a ton of meat. Totally depends on what you like, but 7 to 8 pounds of meat is going to be about this big already. And it's huge, right? It's huge, like each piece like that big. And so it's a lot. So she's just calling for 1 3 rib standing roast, which is probably going to be about this big already. It's got a lot of fat typically on the outside. And so on the bottom side where it's got the bones more, that's the part that she's saying put down. And then spread the top thickly with salt and pepper. She's calling for a tablespoon of kosher salt and 1.5 teaspoons of freshly ground pepper. So she does half the amount of pepper as she does salt. And for 3 ribs, that's like a teaspoon, yeah, half a teaspoon for every, half a teaspoon for every serving, maybe a little bit less of salt. That makes sense to me. But that is all she's putting on hers, and that's all I do on mine. If I do anything different and you want a little more flavor, I would recommend fresh rosemary or thyme leaves, right? Take them off their stems, chop, chop, chop coarsely. If you want some garlic, you can mince some garlic in with that on the cutting board with some salt and make like a paste with it and the pepper, and then rub that on. But it's got so much fat in the meat, you don't even have to add fat to the crust, okay? It'll just make a beautiful crust with this. Are you on your way? Okay, bye, sweetheart. Love you. I'll see you after, okay? So why do we start at 500 degrees? Because that is aggressive. it's going to put a beautiful crust on the outside. And most people like medium rare prime rib. It's like if you go, we have a place called House of Prime Rib that's been here for as long as San Francisco practically. It's probably been here. I don't know if it's been here 100 years yet, but probably pretty darn close. And it's like really beautifully browned on the outside and perfectly medium rare on the inside. You're going to get that when you crank this temperature up to 500 degrees in the oven, okay? And then she says to do that for 45 minutes. Without removing the meat from the oven, reduce the oven temp to 325 and roast for another 30 minutes, okay? So we're only at 75 minutes there. Finally, increase the temp to 450 and roast for another 15 to 30 minutes until the internal temperature of the meat is 125 degrees Fahrenheit. Be sure the thermometer is exactly in the center of the roast, right? So let's pretend that this is, I'm gonna just be silly. I just keep washing my hands. If we're doing it this way, say the prime rib's standing up, you want to run the thermometer so it hits halfway in the middle right here, okay? Through the side. So this way, and I'll do that with this piece of meat. Let me rinse my hands. It is so important to get it exactly in the center of the entire prime rib because you are trying to make sure that every piece is cooked. And of course it will be cooked more on the outsides than on the inside, but we want to make sure the very center of the meat is cooked to 125 degrees, which is medium rare. And then when you pull it out and you let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes and you cover it with foil, all of those juices are going to redistribute and it's going to be perfect, okay? But there are a couple other things I want to talk about in terms of timing and how to cook it that matter. So she's saying the total cooking time will be between 1.5 and 1 3/4 hours for a 3 rib roast. If you got 6 ribs or 8 ribs or something crazy huge, all I can say is please cut it in half. It's going to make it so much harder to cook. It's like trying to cook a 26-pound turkey versus a 14 to 16 pound. You're just not going to have the same results. You're going to have it cooked more on the outside and the very inside is going to be really rare. So to manage, you want to have smaller pieces, okay? So I don't know if Fenna or Chrissy, if you know how much yours weigh, but I would not recommend cooking one that's more than 7 to 8 pounds. Cut them in half or have the butcher do it for you and take home 2 pieces, right? They will be enormous already, okay? It's going to make it easier. Let it sit out for at least 2 hours to come to room temperature before you start cooking it so that it's going to cook more evenly from the get-go. Let's see. We're good. Oh, bless you. I see KQ. Thank you. All right, cool. Then we're good with that. All right. So carving, let's just talk about carving it too, in case any of you are doing this besides Fenna and Chrissy. Carving something this big, once you've let it rest for 20 minutes, it should be cool enough to handle so you can carve it. And if you're trying to keep it on the bone, which most people like to do because it looks so impressive, you can stand it up. And I've practiced on a rack of lamb before. I'm not kidding. It's like the exact same thing. It's just mini, right? And let's say you have, let's say that these are the bones, all right? We're going to just pretend I'm prime rib, this little piggy, little piggy. The thing you want to do to make sure you get even cuts is you want to cut on the same side of each bone. You want to carve, right? So you don't want to like carve on this side of one and then that side of the other because the pieces won't be even. So when you start to make your first cut, if this is the bone, you either want to cut on right next to it, and then when you do the next one, you cut on the same side, same side. See what I mean? So that's a great thing to think about when you're carving any meat that's got a rack. Same goes for ribs. When you go to cut ribs, like pork ribs, any rack, you want to always cut them, slice them down the same side of each bone so that they're an even thickness and it's just more even throughout. So that's something to keep in mind. If you want to take the entire thing off the bone before you serve it, what you can do is you I'm just going to pretend again. Here's our, I'm going to use my hand. I can't really do this. Okay, but say here's the roast, right? And the bones are up and then it's kind of resting flat. You're going to just slice slice right here or slice across, and that all of that meat is just going to come off, and then you can slice it across into whatever thickness you prefer. Okay, it's so big. Oh my gosh, some from WS sent us an 11-pound. I would cut it in half once you defrost it. I would totally cut it in half. It'll make it so much easier to cook. 11 pounds is humongous. So yeah, that'll save you time, Fenna, and it'll just be better. It'll cook more evenly, I promise you. Yeah, that's a big one, but that's an amazing gift. I can't believe someone sent you an 11-pound prime rib. That is amazing. That's pretty incredible. What a gift, right? I mean, if you like prime rib, we would love it over here. Any other questions about this so far? The same goes for crown roast of pork. Have you guys ever tried that? I love it. Or a rack of pork, they call it. The crown roast is when they take a rack of pork. It's just like anything else. So it's got the meat on it, just like this. It's got the loin and the tenderloin still on it. A lot of times they'll take a full rack and they'll tie it in a circle, right? Williams-Sonoma sells those too. And then people put stuffing in the middle and you roast it up like that. That's fantastic. But if you're just doing a straight rack with all of that meat, it's very similar to a prime rib. You're going to treat it the same way when you cook it, okay? And you want to just season it really liberally with salt and pepper. If you wanted to add thyme or something else, you could. But you'll do the bone side down again. And then when you go to carve it, you let it rest, and then you put it up on its side, and the same thing. You're going to cut on the same side of each bone as you go across, and you'll get an even thickness for pork chops that's like that, right? The prime rib is going to be more like that, depending on the size of the animal. That's kind of crazy, but it's so fun. You can cook both at the same time. Absolutely. It depends on, do you have an oven that's big enough to hold them both, or a pan that's big enough to hold them both? If you don't, then, or if you have a double oven and you can do that, great. I mean, I hope you can. It's so funny because when you get something that big, like 11 pounds, I'd be curious if that fits in a typical roasting pan to start with. It might be so big that you'd have to cut part of it off anyhow, but you can certainly cook them both at the same time. Just make sure they're not touching, or they're not, they're not touching much. They shouldn't touch because you don't want one of them to steam. Like, you want the heat to hit all of the surface of each piece so it can really get brown and beautiful and caramelized on the outside, okay? How about other questions about prime rib? Any others? You definitely want to defrost it. Start at least 2 days before, Fenna. You can put it in your fridge the day before. You might even need to let it sit out overnight and let it defrost that way. Yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely defrost it. Give it at least 2 days. If it has to sit in your fridge for a day, that's totally fine. Hi, Lori. She's with us. How are you? You guys, have I seen any of you since? Yes, I've done a class since Thanksgiving, right? I did one like last week. Oh, wait, I did the class. Oh, yeah, I did the class, the appetizers class, where there was like nobody here and then a couple people here. It was so hilarious. I was just talking to myself, which is fine. Just a different energy, right? But that was a good time. So, Lori, I hope your Thanksgiving brunch went well. If you haven't shared that, I cannot remember. Oh, and Chrissy's saying hi too. You guys are adorable. I love that. You're good. Just joining from work. Good for you. That means you're working a long day, I'm sure, Lori, though, because you start very, very early. I think, Lori, you're joining for our wellness workshop in January, aren't you? That I'm going to do online, you guys. 28 days. I'm quitting sugar, just so you know. Yesterday was my 2-year anniversary of quitting alcohol, which was a really big one. But you guys always have it. I have to listen to my medical problems, including the bacterial infection that has returned to my ear. But I know, I've done the research. I've written the books. Sugar, refined sugar, is not serving me. And I say the same thing I do just like when I decided to give up alcohol. It's so delicious and I enjoy it, but I'm going to get rid of it. And so, because I want to get rid of something in my diet, I do much better when I have people around me, a community giving me support and vice versa. And so I'm launching a 28-day class. If you don't want to give up sugar, no worries. But if you want to pick something else you want to give up in your diet or try to just remove for a month, you can do gluten, you can do dairy, you can do sugar, you can do refined foods in general. I'm not going to call for anything refined. And Oh, that's so good. And you're giving up refined sugar with me. That's terrific. And so I'm going to provide everybody with food ideas, recipes, and a shopping list for an entire 28 days of food that doesn't have any refined sugar in it. It'll be gluten free. It'll be almost dairy free. I'm going to use Greek yogurt for breakfast, and I'll tell you guys that. Um, but let's do it together. And we're going to get online twice a day. I'm going to have a 7 a.m. meeting every day, which will be more about like grounding, quick meditation, talking about what our intentions are for the day. And if you messed up one day and you need to start over, that's okay. We're going to take a deep breath together and go through it. And then at 4 o'clock every day, I'm going to get on and I'm going to talk about the food of the day. I'll demo, hopefully teach you a thing or two, because the recipes are going to be more like quick assembly things, right? I'll call for a couple recipes, but that I've got from my other books that are really delicious, or from all of my books. But most of it's going to be like, we're going to roast a piece of salmon and roast some broccoli, right? So it's going to be more about technique. And I'm not going to be having you make like a quinoa bowl for breakfast with 12 ingredients. No, we're talking simple, okay? So, and I'm only writing the menu out, pretending that you're cooking just for yourself to do this, but they'll be easy to double if you want to do it with somebody else. Okay. So, 28 days, $99. That's $3.54 a day. And you can buy it as a gift for somebody. If you buy it for yourself and you want to gift it, we have gift certificates that Caitlin figured out. It's very exciting. And you save $10 when you buy it for somebody else. Cool, right? Your boyfriend's hacked since we bring roast beef to the kids' home, so eat hours later early. Wrap, oops, not done typing, having manicure. Do you wrap it up and then just barely reheat it? Oh, I can't wait to hear about that, actually. I think I know where you're going with that. Do you just do the high temp part first and then let it sit and then just barely warm it up? I'm super curious. I'm super curious. Okay, let me check the timer on the potatoes and we're gonna go from there. And then we're gonna sear a steak just to, again, see if I still know what I'm doing. It's like stump the teacher, right? And also look at internal temperature of meat again. So you guys know what I'm talking about when I say pull it off at 125. In fact, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna cook these to 2 different temperatures and we're gonna see what you like better, okay? So when Erna's done with her manicure, she's going to finish her thought for us. But just don't mess up your nails. First things first, okay? Yeah, I'm going to put this up a little bit. And then, all right. I need another oven mitt, actually. Let me be smart. Because you know how many silly things I do in the kitchen that I deeply regret. Hey. Oh, they already smell amazing. Oh, they've only been going for 23 minutes, so I'm jumping the gun. I'm just going to take a quick peek. Let's just see. I'm going to take a little peek. There's probably a lot of steam that's going to come out. Oh, yeah. I'm actually going to take the foil off because there's a lot of liquid in here. So it's actually like producing more liquid first. Oh, they're going to be so good, though. Can you see that? So I'm going to by leaving it open, it's going to allow some of that to evaporate, which we want. Ooh, get back in there. Delightful. Okay, timer. Let's do another 30, and then we'll be up to like 50 something. And she said an hour and a half. We're going to find out. I think because my potatoes are sliced so thinly, I'll come back. I think mine are going to cook more quickly than Ina's recipe, but I could definitely be wrong. I've been wrong once or twice before. Okay, so before I cook the steak, does anybody need to stop and get something else to drink or have any questions? I'm going to get myself a little more sparkling water. What I really want to do is drink iced tea because I'll tell you a funny story. This is a cooking class. My doctor, oh, hi, Connor. Hello. I'm just doing House of Haas. Wonderful. Don't mind me. Come and go as you need.
Thank you.
I'm cooking these potatoes that you're going to love, and then I'm doing this filet. Lucky ducks. Um, so yesterday I woke up and I didn't feel well with my ear again, and it's only been like 3 weeks, probably 3 or 4 weeks since we cleared up my ear infection, and I had to have my hearing tested a couple weeks ago because my doctor was like, "This was so bad for so long. I'm not sure about your hearing." So I had it tested, and I have like one gap in my hearing that they're like, "Well, you can't do anything about it, but don't go to any loud concerts without earplugs." And I was like, "Okay, noted." And so it's funny because I'm supposed to go see Stevie Nicks this Friday night to celebrate someone in memoriam. That's how we're going to go celebrate his life. And I woke up yesterday in pain and I was like, oh no. And then I woke up today and it was really bad. And so I had emailed my ear, nose, and throat doctor and said, it's back. What should I do? And he goes, well, take, Advil or whatever, and then let me know. And if it's not good, I'll squeeze you in. So I woke up today. I'm like, oh, this is not good. So I email him first thing, and his office calls and says he's actually in surgery all day, and so he can't see you today. He can see you, I think, Friday morning at 8 a.m. He can squeeze you in. I was like, okay. In the meantime, I let my new general doctor know, and she said, Google an onion poultice, Poultice, for ear infections. And basically, I Google it, and it says, take an onion, cut it in half, or steam it a little bit, and stick it on your ear. Tie it so attached to your head and let it sit there, and it helps. There's an ingredient, quercetin. How do you say it? Quercetin, Quer, quercetin or quercetin, Quercetin, that is antibacterial, and it helps cure an infection. And so I took a nap with onion on my head. My kids were just like, "What are you doing?" And I swear it helped for like an hour, but the pain is back now. And I think that when you're in pain like this, it's easy to feel fatigued all the time, right? So that's my reason for feeling extra tired. It's just knocked me off my feet, and I have to feel well tomorrow because it's my first book signing for my new book here in town in Orinda. I'm so excited. Okay, back to serious stuff. Let's talk about steak more. Wait, I saw Grown Ups, but what happens, Lori? Is it really bad? When she said poultice, I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then I started looking them up, and I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of stuff like this, but I forgot the name for it. Okay, we're gonna go back to beef, and this is filet mignon. And let me tell you this, you guys, the only difference between filet mignon and a beef tenderloin is that the filet mignon is just one piece of beef tenderloin. So the beef tenderloin looks like a big Tootsie Roll, right? And you can sell them in like different weights. So if you're having a crowd, right, 4 pound, 6 pound, 8 pound, it's like $35, $40 a pound. It adds up very quickly. Or you can get slices. These are a quarter-pound each. So you can get little filet mignon en français, and you can cook one, and it's an individual portion. This was, how much did this cost, Connor? How much was it?
17 for half a pound.
Yeah. So I think it was like $35.99 a pound. It's expensive. It's very expensive. Rob Schneider's character uses it for healing. That's hilarious. Now I'm going to have to go watch Grown Ups again, Lori. Connor, we have a new movie we have to watch, a new old movie. So these are expensive. So these together were 17, but if you think about that, actually for two people for a lovely dinner, that's $8, not even. No, 8.5 a piece. That's a beautiful, fancy dinner, right? So I'm going to cook these in a pan for you guys. We're just going to pan sear them, and I'm not going to do anything fancy with them. All I'm trying to do is get the temperature right and show you that piece, okay? So let me get a pan out, and my little drawer of tricks is right here. I think the pan I want, yeah. Sorry, it's going to be loud. Plug your ears. Clank, clank. A little smaller. Yes. I'm going to use a cast iron pan because it sears things so nicely, okay? And I'm going to move it straight over here and put it on a really high heat. I realized our smoke alarms must have dead batteries because they haven't gone off in forever.
You know, turn it on.
I need to check. Like if you go in the study and you look, if you see a red light beeping, I have a feeling they're done. Let's see. Yeah, I just made it. That's fresh chicken, and the chicken stock's cooking. Kids home from college. They're excited for real food. What are you going to do with it? It's just super plain. There's no salt on it yet.
Workout meal.
Oh, good for you. Okay. Lori, I'm totally having flashbacks of that movie now, and I can't wait to watch it. I think I'm going to need to do that tonight. It's not a football night. It's Wednesday. It's a Christmas miracle, folks. Let me put the camera down so I can show you how I'm going to season this very generously. But with salt, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to put pepper on it yet because as many of the fancy chefs now say, pepper is a spice that burns. And so if you pepper it before it goes on the cooktop, you're just going to burn the pepper, and burnt pepper doesn't taste great. You disagree, Connor?
I love pepper.
Yeah, but it's better when you grind it on at the end, is our point. Yes, so I'm going to do that, and then you're going to see. This is how well I'm salting this. Get it everywhere, okay? And then because I just put my fingers on raw meat, I'm not going to put them back in my cute little thingy, my bobber. You're welcome, honey. Just plain chicken. Do you want some salt?
I'm gonna give you. I'll see what we have.
No, you don't like quesadillas, do you?
Although chicken quesadilla would be a good idea.
It would be. I have tortillas and everything in the bottom right drawer. Okay, so this is very well seasoned, okay? And now what I'm going to do is put a very small amount of fat in the pan. Connor, could I ask one medium favor? Underneath my bathroom sink is a roll of paper towel. Could you go get me the paper towel?
Underneath your what?
Bathroom sink in the center part. I need paper towel because I want the smallest amount of oil in the pan. I could actually use a pastry brush too, but I just want to wipe the pan out so there's not a ton of it, you know? Okay, so let me wash my hands again. And then, friends, I'm going to turn this camera so that we're aiming towards the cooktop. Thanks, honey. It's nice to have an assistant.
I know.
Perfect. All right. I'm back. I have to give you time to adjust for dizziness when I'm constantly moving the camera around. Here's what I want. I want a neutral oil, right? There are a couple ways you could do this. If you want to finish cooking a steak in a pan, like a big steak, you could end up adding butter and like basting it with the butter to finish in the pan. Typically, if it's not cooked all the way through and it's done browning on the outside, I put it in the oven because it quits browning it so much on the outside and it'll just help it cook internally, right? But we're going to see how long these take because I want avocado oil. Ooh, this is smoking. This is exactly what we want. We want a smoking hot pan. And I'm just going to wipe this oil. You don't want too much fat. And then I'm going to put these in and I'm not going to touch them for a little bit. Sizzle, sizzle. That is amazing. Gorgeous. These are going to be really good. Okay. And then I know I'm going to need to land this. Actually, what I'll probably do is use tongs. I have to get some out of my clean dishwasher. Oh, there are some dirty ones, actually. No, clean. Okay. So, patience is a virtue with things like this because if you start touching the meat too much, this goes for any meat you're trying to cook where you're trying to sear it. What? It won't get brown. You're right, Connor, but you know what else happens? Is when people say, oh, my pan, it's sticking to my pan. That just means that A, your pan might not be hot enough, but it hasn't caramelized enough to naturally release itself from the bottom of the pan. So you don't want to be messing with it too much to start, okay? I love it when my kids try to cook or talk along with me. Connor knows. You know more than you let on to.
I know.
So I'm going to try to be patient here.
What that Maillard?
You said you want that Maillard. It's the Maillard reaction. Hey, bien. That's a French word. So yeah, so you have to be patient. And if you want the sides seared as well, you have to put them on their sides, right? We're going to do that too. Questions, comments, everybody good? It's just about patience. You're just eating that plain?
I put salsa on it.
Oh, good for you. It's not a bad little hack. Let's see what happens. Yep. Ooh, that's That's those. Yep, they're getting there. Actually, I could use a little bit more oil, a little fat. These are so lean. Oh, you know what I'll use? I'll just use a little bit of the. Watch out! This could start a fire. Yep. Good call, Connor Haas. Good call. You shouldn't be doing that because it will definitely put the spray thing. Okay, watch this. I just want a little bit more fat around the entire pan, okay? And because it can flare up with the grease, you'll notice I'm standing back from it, okay? Because when the flame is that high around the sides of the pan, it's very easy to get flare-ups. I had a flare-up on something earlier today. Can you see how beautiful this is? The lighting is not good, but boy, is that some Maillard reaction happening, Connor. That's pretty too. These are gorgeous. That's my chicken stock. Oh, I'm just continuing to cook my stock with the bones after I took the chicken off, and it's delicious, delightful. You're on fire. Yeah, I can get you a knife. Here you go, honey. Gorgeous. This is so fun. Connor's going to work out, and I'm going to have the television remote control. I can do whatever I want. That's all you're going to work. It's an hour long.
No, I'll work out.
Oh, I'm still in charge of the television. You guys, they own the TV almost every night of the week, and we only have one.
I've been here for 3 months.
I know that doesn't mean you own the television. That's hilarious. Okay, I'm putting them on their sides, right? Because we want them to brown still. Because every day they wake up and there's something else. There's football on how many days a week? 4. Professional football. Monday, Thursday, Sunday. College football Saturdays. College basketball's on all the time. UFC's on Saturday nights. And so I'm reclaiming the television. Nobody's in charge of it tonight except for me. Okay, so that side is looking good. But you have to kind of, like sometimes you have to actually prop them up yourself, all right? By putting them on their sides like this, you're cooking it through evenly as well. This is the same as if you're cooking ahi tuna. And you just want it rare on the inside, but cooked on the outside, just seared. You have to do the exact same thing. These are so lean. That's why they're not giving off any fat in the pan. Patience. Did you see what's in the oven?
Potatoes?
Yeah. They're looking really good. I get a little bit more fat on there. So when something's this lean and you're not having any fat come off them, what some people like to do is if you put like some aromatics in the pan, if you put some garlic with a little more fat or some onions and something like that, then you can deglaze that by adding red wine or adding some stock afterwards and trying to make a juice to base or drizzle over them when you're done. I'm interested in your microwaving with English muffins. That could be a class, Connor.
What? Well, you're using this. I just wanted to.
No, I'm just curious. I'm super curious that you like the taste of a microwave. Like I like them toasted.
I do too, but
talking English muffins.
We don't have a toaster in this household.
This is true.
So it's my next best option.
You want one for Christmas?
No.
You guys have a toaster oven at school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious. My guess is these will not yet be 125 internally. And what I would typically do now, since they're seared on the outside, is just finish them in the oven. Now that I have a nice sear.
What's the potatoes?
They are thinly sliced, mixed with chicken stock, caramelized onions, and some Gruyere cheese. So instead of all cream, I use chicken stock. Right?
Add one to it.
Noise, as he said. Lori, you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, don't you? Andre Bauer. The captain passed away yesterday. I was so sad to hear that. Okay, let's pull these off just so I can show you. I'm going to bring the camera back down, okay? And let's see what the internal temp is. I can see they're still pretty pink. Move that just to get under there and evaporate a little bit more. Okay, let's bring this down. So because these are so lean, too, the more you poke them, the more the juice is going to come out, which is not what we're going for. So, what, Connor?
You wrap it in tin foil.
Oh, Connor's telling me to wrap them in tin foil. You cover loosely, tent loosely with foil. Yeah, these, well, yeah, 102, 104, 105. So I'm going to put these, let's see how, this one's probably a little more done. Oh, this one's saying 135, 140. Look at that. They're that different. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this one gets a little foil. Just a quick tenting. Okay. Now let's see this one again. Yeah, 100, 101, 99. Yeah, not ready. So let's put this one in the oven for just a couple of minutes. I'm going to put it in something else because it's just easier than trying to put that heavy cast iron pan in, okay? Let's do this for like 3 to 5 minutes in the oven. Oh, those potatoes are looking amazing. Oh my goodness. All right.
Very cheesy.
Very cheesy. And then I'm going to lower the timer on the potatoes a couple minutes. Okay. All right. I'm back, and I can turn the hood off while we talk. I'm going to give the steak like 4 minutes in the oven. It's only at 375. That's the other thing. I turned up the temperature on this oven to 375 instead of minus 350 because, again, I'm just curious. And I'm always...
You want me to put this in the fridge, salmon?
Yeah, please. Thank you. I'm always curious how long things take when I would do them without paying attention to somebody's recipe. I'm breaking all the rules. We're going crazy tonight, folks. Let's see what Erna has to say. Oh, Yeti soaked in boiling water. Okay, let's see this. You said you don't watch that, but you saw I passed away. I know, at 61. It made me sad. Meat cooked till almost done, wrapped in beach towel and blanket. So the Yeti itself, or yeah, okay, 90 minutes later, it was rested and still medium rare. Thank goodness, since it was a $700 piece of beef. Holy cow. It was an accidental burn. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. That's a great way to keep it warm and turn it into like an oven. Those Yetis hold hot or cold very well, so that's hilarious. Oh my gosh. That is so funny, but that is a large mistake purchase, isn't it? I love it. Okay, so we're just a couple minutes out on the beef, and the potatoes are looking amazing. They look like, well, they're ooey gooey and beautiful on the outside. I'm just curious if they are cooked enough, right, when you pierce them with a fork. Lori's on her way home. Oh my gosh, Lori, West Wing, what season are you on? I told you I was watching that again too, right? I've watched it all the time while I've been cooking and doing anything in the kitchen. I'm on season 6. And I started, how long, was I watching West Wing when you were home for Thanksgiving, Connor? Okay, so let's give it, say, was that like 3 weeks ago? Wasn't very long ago. That was like 2 weeks ago. 3?
I was here to start Thanksgiving.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so yeah, I've only been watching for like 3 weeks, and I'm deep into season 6, where they've got the new president running. So hilarious. You just started again? Oh, it's so good. I realized I haven't watched most of that show, so I remembered some characters and some plot lines, but I have not watched what I'm watching right now. It's phenomenal. Like, I know how the whole thing ends. I watched at the end, but I'm having the best time. It's like a show I'd never seen before. And my poor kids now have to listen to me talk about politics again, because I feel like this is what politics used to be like. Like, you would argue with people, but you would find ways to agree on certain things when they matter enough, right? I think of John McCain actually a lot. Someone who just was like, cared so much about their country, even if I agreed or disagreed with his politics, you knew that he cared. right? He cared about where our country was going. And those are people I like. Oh, did you lose me, Loretta? Anybody else? Lori did too? Huh. Am I back? Huh. Let me get my... Can you guys see me? You can see me? Yeah, KQ, I've already taught the spinach recipe, so I'm going to walk you guys through that one too. It's so easy. It's from my new book. But you can see me? Huh. Can Lori or Loretta? Lori might have hung up so she can get in the car and go home, but that's so weird. It's so weird. Okay. All right. Lost you too. Gosh darn it, internet. Well, I hope this recording. Hold on. That is so strange. I'm so sorry, you guys. It doesn't show me anything's wrong on my screen. Let me grab the steak. Oh my gosh, those potatoes look insanely delicious. I'm just going to take this right out and let it rest, okay? I'm going to move it down to the board. Last you heard was $700 worth of meat. I'm back. Okay. That's so bizarre. I'm sorry about that, you guys. We are going to talk about spinach because I want to show you how much spinach it takes to like wilt down to a piece, okay? This, just so you know, is a 12-ounce bag of spinach, and it calls for a pound of spinach. It looks like so much when you take it out and you shake it. It's 4 cups, 4 servings per container, serving size 4 cups. So there's 16 cups of spinach in each bag, and you would need another 4 cups. So you call 20 cups of spinach leaves, and it cooks down to practically nothing. Can you get by? Beep, beep. All right. So I'm going to let this steak rest a little bit longer. And then I'm going to, let's see, this one's going to be perfect. I can just feel it. You guys are going to have to forgive me for using my fingers because I want to be able to show you this. Actually, my kids are the ones who have to eat it after I use my fingers, but they'll forgive me. It looks like a slice of pizza. Yeah, of course. This is rare. Can you see how the grain is running a bunch of different directions? Mostly this way, right? I want to slice against that grain for the best tasting meat. But it's kind of, this is like the end of one of the pieces. And so as it kind of tails off, literally this is like the tail of it, the muscle fibers are moving in different directions. But we're just going to go with like the majority of seeing them go that way. And I'm going to slice against it, okay? So let me get a slicing knife. Hunter, you're a lucky duck.
Well.
And again, this knife isn't perfectly sharp, but it's sharp enough, and I just want to glide it. If you ever have to saw your knife through it, you're going to have jagged meat. This is rare. Is that going to be too rare for you?
No.
But it's going to be, see, it's warm on the inside, and that's what you want. If your meat was cold when you took it out of the fridge, that's a little piece that's not going to be perfect. You can also, like, if this is too rare, you can just sear it really quickly in a pan and just cook it off, boom, boom, and then it's to whatever temperature you'd like, okay? That is like a perfect medium rare, almost rare.
I'll take the medium rare one.
Okay. Here, take that piece. That piece looks perfect. Do you want some salt on it?
Is it already salted?
Just on the outside.
I'm good.
I'm going to seal a piece. You guys.
That's delicious.
Winner, winner. That's so good. He's happy.
Don't cook it like that. Don't make it medium rare, make it rare.
It's delicious. Okay,
Another
but
one.
yeah, this is for you. Do you want all of it? What next to your salsa? What a buzzkill. Do you want it with some cheesy potatoes? Oh, never mind us. You might as well say hi at this point.
Give me a paper towel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hold, please. There you go. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. It's like I love it. I / hate it that he's eating it and like walking around the house. You know, it should be savory.
Nice trying some chicken and rice.
I know, exactly. Would you have your first night home from college? Filet mignon. Okay, I'm gonna slice this other one for us. Okay, let's take a look. You're welcome, sweetheart. Okay, let me show you the grain again. Can you see that? Most of them are going. It helps to look at it through this camera. It got blurry. I can't focus on it. Because when you look at it in real life, it looks like it's going a million different directions. This one is still really juicy. And if I want to practice what I preach, I'm going to wait another minute or two to slice it because the juices are still redistributing. I'm just going to eat this piece as I go get the potatoes, okay? Fenna, it's amazing. So good. Are you so happy, Connor? Good. I can move my keyboard since you guys are back. What'd you say, honey? Yeah, I know, right? Well, that's why it's a treat. This is not the kind of food you buy every night. Okay. Let's get this one. You guys know my oven mitts are a joke, right? So you won't take it personally when you read what's on them. Like this one. Okay, cheesy potatoes, here we come. It's only been 15 minutes since we put these in. Oh my gosh, jackpot. Holy cow. I mean, what? Yeah, Loretta, I took that filet out. That first one was like, it said 130, 135, but then it looked medium rare. So sometimes you just have to be careful too, right? 125 is what they recommend to pull it at and then let it sit for about 10 minutes before you slice it. And then it's up to temp. You guys, this is so gorgeous. I can't handle it. I think I'm going to need to take a picture of it after it cools a little bit. Watch this. I'm going to do it with my phone so that I get a pretty picture for the website. I wonder, the lighting is terrible because it's kitchen light and it's dark outside. And let's take a look. Okay, let's just take a picture of this and then we're gonna, I bet we can adjust the lighting on it. Even though it's kitchen. But you guys, it's so bubbly and crispy and perfect. Perfection. Let's get that oven mitt out of the way. Caitlin is much better at this than I am. My papers are still in the way. See, you're seeing how the sausage gets made. Aha. Now you can see my oven mitt though. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so this has to cool anyhow, but we're gonna slice that other piece of meat and it's gonna be amazing. Okay, wow. I wanna swim in this. Go for a deep dive swimming in the Gruyere. Okay, while that cools, let's move this over. And you guys, this is something that you can assemble and put in the refrigerator and bake off. And, you know, do it 2 hours before dinner. And then you can even do the prime rib and let it rest for probably at least 30 minutes before you carve it, and it'll be perfect. And then the spinach you can do in advance as well. This is a meal that should not be a last minute thing during the holidays, which I just love the idea of that. I'm just trying to move this to center it a little bit more for you guys so it's not so annoying to watch. Okay, so here we go against the grain, which is going this way, right? Oh, this one is, yep, this is more like medium. No, medium rare. This is, you guys, this one's for your brother. He's going to be so excited. So glide, right? Look at that. Let me put it on a plate so you can see the color better. Contrast is better on a plate up here. Woo! Look at this, Connor.
I want to try that.
A masterpiece. I know it's very hot. It has to just set for a second, okay?
For how long?
Give me 5 minutes.
I
10.
have one more of those.
You can have the scraps.
Thank you.
Look at it. It's a hit, you guys. So think about this or your prime rib with some of that sauteed spinach that's literally just garlic, olive oil, the spinach leaves, and some of this delightful potato action. Oh. That's amazing. Okay. I'm coming back to answer more questions before I try the potatoes because these are so dang hot. I don't need to burn myself on camera, right? But I love that the changes that we made, and I'm going to tell you about how my salt turned out and all of that. And if you do decide to make them with chicken stock, you'll need to remember I used about a generous cup, like a cup and a quarter, a cup and a third, and then I used low sodium, right? Okay. I wanted to talk about the spinach and why I did this recipe, because I mentioned that I love creamed spinach, but if there's cream in everything you serve, I don't know anybody who feels well after doing that, especially like I said, if you're wanting to like serve cheese and crackers, you know, it's so American to do cheese and crackers and charcuterie before dinner, but it makes more sense to do it after. So like people just have a small piece of cheese and it's delightful. You don't need as much, right? But this is something that I've done multiple times before for holidays when I don't want to make something creamy. And I've put a bunch of ingredients in here that I think really jazz it up, including starting with dried currants, which I do in so many of my recipes because you can just rehydrate them. Just put them in some warm water and let them sit for 5 minutes or so, and then drain them and they get plump again. And they're delicious. They're not as aggressive as raisins because they're so much smaller, right? Like a typical raisin. So you still get a little sweet. Like I love them in Moroccan dishes and North African dishes where you have all those like warm spices and tomatoes, and then you get a little bit of sweet, and it's great. But I love it with the spinach too, because you get lemon juice. So you get the acid and then you get a little bit of sweet with the currant. But really all you're doing in this is sauteing batches of olive oil, and the garlic is what's really going to give it the flavor. And then you can add toasted pine nuts, you can add dried currants, you can add breadcrumbs if you want on top, if you want to give it a little crunch, right? Totally optional. So I like to go back and look at my recipes, how I've written them, to make sure I've written them in the most succinct way possible. But I talk about this. Yeah, so the other thing, this is a really great tip. I call for 2 garlic cloves crushed, not minced, right? So you crush it and you take the skin off. You cook that garlic clove in the oil, and then you take it out when you go to serve it. So you get all the garlicky flavor, but you're not getting like random chunks of garlic in what you're eating. So I love that. And then the other thing is what you're doing when you're adding all of this spinach to the pan, like you have to put it overflowing, right? And get a pan really hot, and then it starts to wilt. And then you just take tongs and you kind of fold it over. So pieces just start to melt. And what spinach does, there's a ton of water in spinach. It releases all of that water and then it cooks up, right? But it's got to be hot enough to do that. So I'm just recommending that you do that in batches, and then allow any excess water to steam off around the pan. And then you just take that batch out and do another batch. So let's say you have to do 2 or 3 batches. Save one of the garlic cloves for the second batch, right? Or third batch, and you just start over with another little bit of oil and the garlic clove. So you can do that in a regular pan that is not non-stick, but I recommend cast iron or non-stick because it's just so much easier and the leaves won't stick to the bottom of the pan at all. Just be patient and have a really hot pan if you use a regular stainless clad pan, okay? And then what do I do for the ending? If any water collects in the bowl when you put it all together, it just gives off so much water. You can just drain it before you top it with everything else, right? And then I add the currants, the pine nuts, the lemon zest, and the lemon juice at the end, and top with breadcrumbs if you want them. So this is something that you can cook the spinach off entirely. You could do all of this before you're ready to serve it. and then literally keep it warm. The only thing I would wait till the end to do is to mix in the pine nuts because you don't want the nuts to get a little bit soggy. And if you're putting breadcrumbs on top, right? So go ahead and prepare this whole dish and then hold it in an oven that's like 200 degrees. When you take it out, if there's any liquid, too much liquid, drain that off. There's no harm in that, right? And then just add the breadcrumbs and add anything else you want to add to the top, or the pine nuts. Give it a stir and serve it. That's how simple this is. So again, all three of these recipes, the prime rib should be the lowest maintenance piece of meat you ever prepare, except for the fact you have to carve it, right? But in terms of like maintenance and having to do things while it's in the oven, pay attention to the time. Make sure you have a good thermometer, instant read thermometer, or like the meter thermometer that you can keep in the food all the time while it's in the oven or on the grill. Those are amazing too. And watch the time, right? And if you're going to take it out of the oven to check the temperature and put it out, close that oven door again, right? Because when you leave that oven door, you're letting out 50 to 100 degrees. Just every time you're like, oh, how's it going in there? You stick your head in there. Yeah, no, take the food out, close that door. And then when you go to put it back in, if it's so heavy, you need someone's help, have them open that oven door as you put it back in, right? The whole point is to keep that oven door closed as much as possible. Okay, so those are my holiday hacks. I'm gonna move this board out of the way. And I'm gonna taste these potatoes. Let's see what we think. These would be delicious, by the way. I know I mentioned thyme or rosemary, but parsley would be great in these as well. But certainly no need to mess with it if you just like it the way you like it. Okay, let me get a serving spoon and let's bring it down to the pièce de résistance. Another little dish and a serving spoon, which appears that everything is being used or in the dishwasher. Oh, I see one I can use that is clean. Connor, it's the moment of truth with these potatoes. Yep, I think they're done. I didn't even poke them with the fork. I should have done that. We're going to find out if they're done because they only cooked for like 50, 55 minutes. But I think that I like the amount of liquid that I used. And I think Ina's recipe must have been thicker cut. That's my guess. And that the cream gets absorbed more easily than the stock. But I am not a scientist, so don't quote me on that. Okay. Let's see what we think. And the longer they sit in there, I mean, they're actually pretty set. Oh my gosh. You guys, is it possible that they're perfect? I'm just going to let them cool a little bit before you see me eating them because the last thing I want to do is burn the roof of my mouth in front of all of you. So let's give it a second, okay? Can you see the steam? No? Oh, there it is. Can you see it against my apron? Ooh, that's a lot of steam. Oh my gosh, I have a feeling these are going to be one of my favorite foods I've ever made. So remember, I used all olive oil. I did not use any butter. I used chicken stock instead of cream. I did use a half-pound Gruyere. It's not a very fatty cheese. Gruyere is not. It's a hard block. It does have a lot of salt in it. Do we think? Connor, it's the caramelized onions in there with the potatoes and the cheese. This might be my new favorite potato recipe of all time. And we just invented it together. You guys, I'm going to rewrite this recipe and I'm going to put it up on my website. And I'm going to say inspired by Ina. But I didn't use the fennel. I used chicken stock instead of cream. I didn't use any butter. I caramelized the onions still. I cooked it for less time, and I sliced the potatoes really thinly on my little OXO slicer. It's a masterpiece. This is my dinner. Charlie gets to keep the steak. I'm just going to eat the potatoes. Oh my gosh. This is why it would be hard for me to let go of dairy completely. The Gruyere just totally makes it. But I got to be honest, I don't think you need the cream. I think it's probably so good because the chicken stock's homemade. Connor, these potatoes, as you would say, slap. Do you want some? Can you hear me, Connor? Do you want some potatoes? Okay, they're delicious. Friends, those might be one of the best things I've ever made, and I'm not kidding you. I'm gonna give you a portion on my plate. Okay, all right. They're very rich, even though they don't have any cream.
Don't want to eat much before I work out.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. Friends, they're very hot. Just be careful. I want to get Connor's reaction too, but give him a second to cool. Otherwise, you're going to burn your mouth, and I don't want that. I let them rest for like a minute before I ate them. Don't burn your mouth.
Very good.
Yeah. Wow, in real time. Wait till you get the caramelized onions. It's like French onion soup potatoes.
That's a good way to describe it.
Oh my gosh, you guys. This is like one of the best things I've ever made. I feel like I should call the Bliss Boys. And how
Christmas dinner right there.
Oh, okay, maybe not chicken pot pies for brunch. This is delicious.
That on the side.
It's on the side of chicken pot pies for brunch. We're actually going to the 49ers game on Christmas night. I'm so excited. Just me and the boys. And so we're moving up our meal plans with Sunny's family. Aren't they good? They're so good. These might, I can't even believe they're so good with just the chicken stock. I'm so happy. So friends, that's all I got for you tonight. Thanks for hanging out with me. This is always the best part of my week, and you made me forget about my ear infection for an hour and a half. I'm so grateful. Everyone have a wonderful holiday. I think you're all obviously on my mailing list since you are in House of Haas. I'll be talking about a ton about the wellness workshop in January. I do hope you'll join us. It's going to be the best time ever. I think that happy holidays, KQ. I think that it's really important when you want to make lasting change that we do it together, right? So the best part of it all is we're going to be in this together every day, twice a day, and you can join as little or as much as you'd like, but you'll get to go back and watch them forever and ever again, okay? They'll be in the library. So please think about joining us. If any of you are thinking about Bali, do let me know. Part of me is wondering if I should postpone it because I know that the timing of it in March is hard for a lot of people. And so we're considering some other dates, but if you're really stuck on March 2nd through the 9th, I would love to know now. So I can talk to them in Bali and we'll decide. I'm probably still going to Bali no matter what, because now I have that Taylor Swift ticket in Singapore. Not to rub it in. I gotta go. So everybody, this is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. Connor, is that your second round of English muffins?
No.
He's eating English muffins with cream cheese and raspberry jam, scalloped potatoes. He's had steak and chicken with salsa. This is hilarious. Guys, thanks for hanging. Love hanging out with you. Come join me on Instagram at 6 if you'd like to see my best holiday gifts. Bye. I can never remember how to turn this off. Do you hear him cursing? He said, Jesus, these potatoes are good. How do I not? Oh, here's how you stop it. Okay, I'm leaving for good. Bye.